Meanwhile, a political commentator and former House Speaker Lloyd B. Smith is calling for reform on the election process of a House Speaker. This follows yesterday's walkout by the government when concerns were raised about the Speaker's ability to remain impartial. Smith says the controversy highlights the need for stricter selection criteria. Celine Campbell reports.
I beg to nominate the Member of Parliament for the great constituency of East Rural St. Andrew, Mrs. Juliet Holness, to become the Speaker of the House.
Madam Clerk, I beg to second the motion.
The Honourable Juliet Anne-Marie Holness has been nominated and seconded. Are there any further nominations?
A question clerk to the Houses of Parliament, Valerie Curtis, asked 3 times and got no objection. Now, almost 6 months later, the opposition PNP has registered that there may be a conflict of interest. Its leader, Mark Golding, during his budget presentation on Tuesday, raised concerns about Juliet Holness's position as Speaker of the House, given her relationship to the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness. CVM News questioned Golding as to why the opposition failed to raise an objection to her initial nomination.
When that arose, we were not briefed in advance. We weren't consulted with. I was not in Parliament that day. And the clerk to the House presented the leader of opposition business with the script and said this is a tradition that the opposition seconds the motion. And he had no opportunity to consult with any of our members, and he decided to follow the tradition that he was told existed.
But political commentator Lloyd B. Smith explains this is not often the case.
Usually there is a great deal of consultation before the person is selected so as to avoid any controversy. So usually the Prime Minister would meet either with the leader of opposition or the leader of opposition business. And, things, if there were any concerns or, what have you, then those would have been worked out privately so that by the time this person comes to Parliament and is to ascend to the seat, there ought not to be any controversy.
According to the standing orders of the House of Representatives of Jamaica, the clerk shall call upon the House to elect a Speaker. The elected member must not be a minister or parliamentary secretary. The individual must be proposed by the majority and should be seconded by the opposition. However, it should be noted a second member may be proposed in the event the first proposal does not sit well with the House. But if the Speaker is chosen from among the majority, how then can we prevent bias?
It's a convention, so it rests a great deal on the person's own personal integrity and honesty. And of course there are standing orders, there are certain rules and regulations there.
But Smith admits that due to the bipartisan nature of our politics, the Speaker might receive criticisms from their own following a decision made, especially one that is not in favor with the party. On these grounds, Smith forms the view that it may be time to revisit the process of appointment for the House Speaker.
This is one of the areas of constitutional reform that should be seriously looked at. The role of the Speaker, how the Speaker is chosen, and which persons should perhaps be exempted from being chosen.
Celine Campbell for CVM News.